Hello, and welcome back to Voices Beyond Labels, a space where we unbox neurodiversity one conversation at a time. I remain your host, Sylviah Edwin, and today I am sitting with my amazing husband joining us in today's episode, and we are going to be talking about a very important subject. Well, we always do talk about important subjects, but today we're going to be talking about faith, culture, family, and autism in the Nigerian or African context. Now, we are very much aware that autism is still something that a lot of people are getting to know about, but we still have a lot of people who still believe that it's a spiritual thing or it's they have some cultural biases regarding autism. And we're going to be talking about that today. Moon, welcome to today's podcast.
Thank you, my sweet wife. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. So let's start with family members. When we got our daughter's diagnosis, what did family members say about it?
Thank you very much for that question. Well, first of all, many of them didn't even understand what autism is all about. Mm-hmm. So we had to break it down. You know, this is a neurological challenge and it can be fixed with therapy. They're not asking, is it madness? Is it this or that? They said, no, it's called autism. And so we had to break everything down. And some would now say, oh, could it be from the past? Yeah. Could it be from our great-great-grandfather or whatever? And within the family, no one has such issues, you know. So
maybe undiagnosed. Maybe someone had and was not diagnosed.
Yeah. So, but it was a bit of a shock. Yeah. Some also said, okay, we can fix it with prayer, and within the next 1 month, everything should be fine and all that. So it was it's a bit of confusion, and but you're trying to explain yourself, explain what is happening to them, so that everybody can be on the same plane.
Yeah.
But people have different, some of the family members had different biases or different things they thought about it, and they gave their individual suggestions and everything, which we are so grateful for.
So what were the cultural beliefs that they had?
Somebody said maybe it could be our great-great-grandfather, what they did or something that is now coming back to the grandchildren and all that. So
I remember my grandma told me, because when my grandma came around, she said, go and tell your husband to to ask his dad if there's anybody in their family that died a long time ago and wasn't buried properly.
Yeah.
When she said that, I'm like, from where to where? What's the relationship between somebody that did not bury with my child having autism? Oh, I don't understand. So she said, I'm a child. I'm a child. I know I will not understand these things. That if the person was not buried well.
With a cow. Yes. Because I think she asked me the question, and I asked my dad. My dad said that when his own dad died, he was very young, 4 years old or thereabouts. So but when the man died, they didn't bury him with a cow. But when he grew up and began to do well for himself, he bought the cow. Yes, he bought the cow and did the needful. And then they would have to take one part of the cow to where the mom came from, something like that, all those kind of things, that he did the necessary things. He did that for his dad, he did that for the mom. So on his own part, to him, everything is cleared. And
so, but what is the relationship between burying someone with a cow and a child having autism?
So they believe that if that is not done, the person would probably come back and start haunting the family members until the cow is bought, and some kind of beliefs and all that. I didn't believe in those things, but when you have challenges like this, you have to do what you're supposed to do. Some will say, okay, when you give birth to a child, you have to bring a fowl to the kindred, 2 fowls, and notify the kindred that you have given birth. If you don't do that, maybe something can happen to the child.
Oh, yes. I remember my grandma. Yeah, she actually asked me when we gave birth to her, did we take chickens and all that to the umunna?
Yeah.
Is it umunna they call them?
We still have to do it just to fulfill righteousness.
Yes. But when she was saying that, for me, I'm like, but what is the relationship? What has this got to do with my child having autism? And, and she tell me, these things are the culture. If you don't do it, it could affect, it could come back and affect the child or something. But, and a lot of people actually have this belief that, just like you said, we didn't believe any of that, but just to fulfill our righteousness for the grandparents, because they were really on our neck, just to make everybody happy, we did those things, right? So, but this is the problem now. Some people may feel, okay, so if I do this, it means that they feel like it's a spiritual attack. It means that the problem is over, and then my child will start talking, but forgetting that there are some things you need to do. Like you cannot replace that with therapy. You cannot replace that with the dieting. You cannot replace that with everything that you're supposed to do for your child. So in as much as Africans, we have our beliefs and we understand that parents, like left for us, those things, we don't believe any of that. But grandparents, parents would force you like, no, you have to do this. These are the things that you're supposed to do. If you don't do it, it's so and so thing will not stop, or it's going to keep happening and all of that. Yeah. So. Yeah,
we just do it to make them happy. But the place of education is also very important to understand what is happening, and then be able to educate them also about the situation and what can be done. See, so very, very important that we educate our parents, our grandparents about the challenge at hand. It has nothing to do with the family or where they are coming from or village people. It's a well-known challenge in the world. According to statistics, 1 out of 31 people in the US has autism. Globally. So I think about 1 out of 127 globally.
That's a lot.
So it's a generic stuff, a challenge, everybody's aware of. So you educate them, and then if they still expect you to go and buy a file or whatever, I don't know. I shouldn't advise if you should go ahead or not. But once you're aware, then communicate to them.
Just like you said, education is very important, because I remember when my mom would, like when we noticed our daughter wasn't speaking, 2 years, 3 years, she wasn't speaking. And my mom would come to the house, take our daughter out, take her to a prophet or a pastor. I think she took her to different pastors to pray. And so we had to actually educate her so she can understand what this thing is, Now, we're not saying that prayers are not effective. That's not what we're saying. But we're trying to, what we were trying to make her understand is that this is what is happening with this child, So you going to pastors that may, or prophets or people that may tell you, okay, once I pray with her for 7 nights, she'll start talking. I'm not saying that's not possible, but I'm just saying she needed to be educated for her to understand that, yes, God, we've prayed and we believe that God has done, his work on her. But you have to also understand that the healing is a gradual process. By the time you're doing the things you're supposed to do, speech therapy, occupational therapy, eating the right foods, taking the right supplements and all of that, the changes, the words, she begins to get better, just like what we're already doing. So, but if you neglect that aspect and then you are doing the whole or going to pastors out of ignorance, it could really affect you, because when they tell you your child will start talking in 7 days and then you're not seeing it happening, you get discouraged, you get irritated, you get angry, and then you begin to doubt God.
Yeah. She was actually doing those out of love, a grandma making sure the grandchildren speak. So, but again, the angle I will take it from, of course, I'm a Christian. I believe in the power of God and the power of the Holy Spirit to have some influence and, to heal my child. And first of all, there's a fact, there's a reality on ground. And I also believe that God can cause a change. Are you getting it? And he can do it in many ways. Number one, he can bring in the right therapist to interface with your child. He can give you ideas on what to do.
The kind of food to feed your child.
Food to feed your child and all that. And then the spiritual elements. You can get a healing. I believe in miracles. And we've seen that a lot also in our child. So that spiritual angle is there, but understand the facts and then balance the two and get the two together. And then you begin to see some changes.
Very important. So you're not praying out of ignorance. You know what you're praying about.
You know what you're tackling. You know what you're
the problem you're trying to solve.
Your faith to solve. So I could remember even before the diagnosis, I would hold her and I would pray, and I would cast and bind and do all sorts of things. I didn't understand what was happening because our challenge then was speech. She couldn't say anything. So
and meltdowns, lots of it.
So I didn't understand what was happening. I said, why couldn't I communicate with my child? I want to talk to her. I want to have a conversation, and I'm not having that. She's not listening. I felt then she wasn't listening. So I got frustrated. But when I began to study about the challenge, things began to clear, and I can now pray aright. I know what I'm praying about. And then
you're not praying out of ignorance.
Exactly.
And as you're praying, you're doing what you're supposed to do. Because I think that is one of the challenges that we have in the African context. You're praying, but then first of all, you're praying blindly. You're not even educating yourself about what the issue is. And then you're praying and you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Just like you said, when you pray, God will tell you what to do. He will direct you in the right place. Because if you remember, the very first therapist we had wasn't actually a therapist. That was one of the problems we had. So she wasn't actually a therapist. And we thought she was a therapist. And she was working with our child for a while and we didn't see any kind of result. So, but with prayers, God guided us to the right people, the right therapists, the right school. And also sometimes he'll put people in your path. Like, for example, when I got to know about the diet, the kind of food she should eat, how to cut out sugar completely. It was from someone. I met a woman who told me that this is what you should do. And then we started doing that. And then we started seeing a lot of changes in her. So God would actually guide you on the right people to meet, the right therapists, the right things you should do for the child that would actually facilitate the change.
Exactly.
So if you're praying with ignorance and you're saying, I'm praying that she'll be fine, and then you leave the child, no early intervention or no intervention at all, you get frustrated.
That's the truth. That's the truth. So it's important that we as parents, recognize the facts, but put God first as well, because He's the one, He created that child. He understands the workings of his or her brains and all the parts of his or her bodies, and He can correct any anomaly. That's the way I look at it. So He can also give you the wisdom to be able to effect some of the changes He wants seen in that child.
So did it ever at some point test your faith?
Yeah, I did. Because growing up as a young Christian and even before I got married, I was very, very committed in church. Very, very committed. I'm also I'm a giver also in church, and I love God with my heart. And, so why is it that my child is my child that is going to have this challenge, So I asked God a lot of questions. Why? I mean, I'm not done anything. I can't remember anything wrong I've done. I've always served you with my heart and all that. So why is it that my child is not talking to me? And why is it that my child is diagnosed of this and all that? So it did test my faith. Yeah,
it did test my faith too, because I remember one day, in fact, as a matter of fact, after she got the diagnosis, for a few days, few weeks, I couldn't bring myself to pray. because I was actually angry with God. I was too angry with him to talk to him because I felt, I don't understand. Even if I've done something wrong, punish me. Why are you punishing my child? Punish me. I'm the one that did wrong, So it really got to me. I was really angry with God. I felt like, I thought you said you loved me. Is this the way to show your love to me? So it's something that is going to test your faith. But I would always think back to the book of John, where I think the disciples were asking Jesus about the blind man. Who went wrong here? Was it the parents, or was it the blind man? And Jesus said, neither of them. It's just for the glory of God to be manifested. So that's just the way I got to see that, maybe God wants to do something, maybe God wants to manifest himself so that our child will beat all odds. The girl they say may never do this, may never do that. She would end up doing all of that, because we've seen cases where this is happening. A lot of people, that they said. I mean, there was this autistic a professor in was it in the US? I can't really remember what state in the US, but he didn't speak till he was around 7. But right now he's a professor. You see, so that's sometimes God wants to manifest his glory like that. And I believe that's the case for us.
Exactly, because these children, they have their strengths. Don't even go far. In Nigeria, there was this guy that drew the largest
Kanye.
So
amazing.
They have their unique strengths. These children, they have their unique strengths. So it's important that we recognize those strengths and give them the necessary support. That they require.
And don't limit them as parents, because sometimes our children would shock us. You would feel, this child will not be able to do this, but they can do it. You'll be amazed.
They have their strengths and they are powerful. So we shouldn't neglect their strengths. We should encourage them as parents, create a necessary environment to make sure that they flourish in what they do. Recognize that God is also there to support you, and don't feel left alone. I know sometimes you could feel left alone, but don't.
So just yes, it can test your faith, but don't give up. And I think what I'm going to tell parents or caregivers is this: don't get exploited. Because I've seen I've done so many researches about this autism, especially in Nigeria. And I've seen cases where I saw a man that was advertising on Facebook. He said he sells a herb, a spiritual herb that, he's a spiritualist, and he sells a herb that helps or reverse autism. And I was shocked. Under the comment section, people were asking, how much? How can I get it? And I'm like, what's going on? So don't let people exploit you. A lot of people tend to take advantage of situations. Do you remember when your mom called us and said there was this pastor, was he a pastor or a prophet? I don't know, that said he was praying for our child and that he has finished doing everything he's supposed to do. The final thing is for us to send him, was it 150K or 250K? I'm trying to remember.
I think it's 150,000.
Yes. Yeah. He said once we send that money, she'll start talking.
And we did send the money just to fulfill our righteousness, isn't it?
I'm not sure we did. We did send the money.
I did.
Really?
I did. Just to make them happy,
And, people tend to prey on parents when they know that you will do anything for your child.
Yeah.
They'll tell you, bring this or bring that or pay this amount. Yeah. So you have to really be educated. That's where education comes in. Because if you're not educated, you would get easily exploited.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing, again, I would like to mention is that I've heard cases, or I've seen cases where they say they blame, they do the whole blame thing. Oh, it's from the father's side. Oh, it's from the mother's side. That's not even necessary. What's on ground now is, how do you move on? How do you help your child?
No one knows the cause.
Exactly.
They said, from what I read, some would say it's environmental.
They say it's genetic.
What exactly is the environmental or the genetic? Some are saying vaccine. I mean, nobody truly knows what's the cause. What's the cause of the issue. So why blame anybody? Why blame yourself? You can't blame yourself. You can't blame your spouse.
Yeah.
You shouldn't blame the child. sometimes the child is manifesting some behaviors you don't like. Don't take it all on the child, because the child, also
is having a hard time.
He or she is not the cause, and she's having a hard time trying to understand what's happening to her or to him. So, just be nice to the child and to your spouse, and
don't blame yourself. Don't blame yourself. Don't feel like maybe it's the crime you committed years ago that is catching up with you.
Exactly.
Or, maybe it's what you did or what you ate when you were pregnant. Exactly. A lot of people have some theories. So it's important that you don't blame yourself too. Yeah. And yes, allow yourself time to process the whole thing. But like you said, the place of faith comes in where you are educated about what the issue at hand is, and you're praying about it. Obviously, whether or not your child has autism, you're going to pray for your child anyway. Yeah. You're praying for your child, and God is directing you to the right things, the right resources, the right things to do. Yeah. To help that child. So, faith is important. Is very important, and when it comes to culture, in as much as we know we are in Africa, you also have to be careful. You have to be very careful, because someone may tell you there's a prophet or there's somebody somewhere that will do something that would reverse it. And then because you're desperate, you take your child to somewhere that they will do something that will be worse than before. There are people, we've heard of cases like that, where they tell you there's somebody that would help, and then you take your child to be initiated to demons or things that you're not even aware of, because you're trying to find a solution. So you have to be really, really careful. That it could even be a family member, it could even be your parents or grandparents or in-laws. So you have to stand firm and
draw a line.
Know where to draw the line. It doesn't even matter if it's your mother that tells you, let us take this child somewhere. There's this man somewhere, or there's this prophetess somewhere that will do something. You don't know the spirits they want to transfer to your child. So know where to draw the line. Know when to say, no, you're not taking my child there. Yeah. So, and what will make you draw that line is education. If you are educated, I remember we took a course. There's this course we bought online just to understand autism. So take a course if you have to. If you can't afford to take a course, there are so many free resources online. Go online, research, find out what autism is, find out how it affects children, find out the things that you should be doing, how to help your child. Because if you don't, somebody else will prey on your ignorance, and then you may fall victim. And then your child's case will now become worse than autism. So it's really important that you educate yourself and also know how to draw boundaries. Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us on today's episode. We hope you've been able to take one or two things from what we've talked about today. Don't forget, your real enemy is ignorance. Because if you're educated, no one can prey on your ignorance, because you know what to do and you know the right steps to take. And don't forget, know when to say no, know when to draw boundaries. Because I tell you, this is your child, and no one can love your child more than you do. So please make sure you educate yourself. And also, please share this video with parents who you think will benefit from this. I remain your host, Sylviah Edwin, and I hope to see you next week.